Balancing Energy Efficiency with Historic Preservation seminar. If that's not the opening for the odd couple too, I don't know, but hopefully they work it out. It's historic preservation and sometimes energy efficiency don't necessarily see eye to eye, but it's wonderful to see everybody here in collaboration to make that work because it is necessary. I'd first like to recognize the sponsors for this event, the U.S. EPA, Elevate Energy, Landmarks Illinois, and the Illinois Historic Preservation Agency. Thank you for sponsoring this event. I'd also like to give a special thanks to James Rogowski, Lauren Panton, and the entire staff at the Old Baker Brewery. One of the facilities we are sitting here this evening is a prime example of how we can repurpose and reuse buildings that were long ago thrown away and disregarded and make them efficient again and make them a positive impact in our community. And I'm sure Mr. Rogowski would like to tell you about all the fun we have restoring historic property and all this property. I'd also like to commend the Alton Climate Protection and Energy Efficiency Committee and the Alton Historical Commission for their work in helping organize this event. And also I'd like to thank the speakers this evening. I'm sure the information they'll have to give will be informative and hopefully intuitive, and how we can move all forward and balance historic preservation with energy efficiency. Alton is truly blessed to have 3 historic districts with numerous historic properties in those districts. These are not just buildings, they are actually what makes Alton unique. The preservation of these buildings is vital to preserving Alton's uniqueness, its history, and its charm. Those districts are the primary reason why a lot of people decide to live here, why they decide to work here, and what's really kept Alton from maintaining where a lot of cities have failed. It's been our historic districts that have fought tooth and nail to maintain what the city has been all about, and Alton is actually on the comeback right now. That being said, however, we'd be naive to acknowledge that maintaining these properties is not a daunting task, and nonetheless a very expensive task. I've been through 15 properties since I grew up in this area. I've lived in Alton now over 20 years. They are incredibly expensive. I do believe they are worth keeping. I've been responsible. My uncle actually lives in one property that was built in 1874 that was on the city's teardown list. It was a duplex. It has now been restored. His family lives there. It's an absolutely beautiful Victorian home. The house I live in now, 10 years, it's almost done. I'm sure a lot of people knows it. So we're getting closer to it. My office building, which I still own, was an old family store that was probably built, I couldn't read the date, somewhere around 1900. It was a building that was long ago forgotten, sat vacant for at least 10 to 15 years. There were 2 apartments upstairs. The family worked, it was the old Comstock grocery store for those of you who may not remember it. And then we worked the store downstairs. That was a 3-year project. I took another property. It should have been condemned. Had raw sewage running through the walls. It was a 5-year project. So when we talk about these projects, as I can probably put Mr. Rogowski up here, Mr. Smith, somebody asked me about Russ Smith. Some of these properties, the people that really care about the city and love the city, and the amount of time, effort, and energy that goes into preserving these properties is no laughing matter. And usually behind each wall, I've not found any hidden treasures, just impacts to my checkbook. But I do firmly believe that the investment is worth it. It's what maintains our uniqueness and what maintains our character. And I firmly believe that's what's kept all in the position it is for regrowth and revitalization. Is these historic districts and people believe in these properties that other people walk away from. So I couldn't be happier to see everybody here to discuss how we can merge preservation and energy efficiency together. I look forward to the information provided this evening, and I hope to leave this event with strategies for improved energy efficiency for your property while maintaining the unique character and the unique structures that Alton has. They've not only restored, but a lot of the jewels that Alton can get back to this region. So again, thank you so much for attending. It means a lot to this community for everyone to be invested in it and keeping what Alton has and restoring what hasn't already been restored. So again, I am honored to be here, and thank you so much for being here and being active in saving our city. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Marta Cuoco, and I am In January of 2014, EPA teams came together to attain environmental results through enforcement, monitoring, modeling, permitting, and voluntary programs such as asthma, indoor air quality in schools in 4 pilot communities. Alton was one of the 4 pilot communities. We would like to thank Alton for welcoming us and for being such a great partner. In May of 2014, we held a public listening session here in Alton City Hall. And what we heard from the residents of Alton was that one of their main concerns was how will they integrate energy efficiency, yet preserve the historic integrity of their homes? So that's a really great question. So we took that back and we got to work. And several folks got together and they pulled the right people together. Granted, we had no budget, but we started making calls, and what we found was there's overwhelming interest and support in this topic. So you're going to hear a lot of great things tonight, and we would like to thank everyone who made this possible. First, Mayor Walker and the City of Alton. Wherever you are, thank you. The Old Bakery Beer Company, which is a great example of a sustainability-focused brewery that just opened in this beautiful historic space. Our moderators, Aaron Newman with US EPA and Matt Asselmeyer of the City of Alton, who are not only our moderators tonight, but really made this event possible. And our speakers, Frank Butterfield from Landmarks, Illinois, from the Springfield office, Anna Margaret Barris from the Illinois Historic Preservation Agency, Richard Briley from Earthway Center of the Missouri Botanical Garden. You'll hear also from J.B. Hires from Elevate Energy, Brian Campbell from Camco Heating and Cooling, and Paul Engler from Conservation Services Group of Ameren. All of these people are committed to sharing their knowledge, but also are future resources for every one of you here. Thank you for coming. We are certain that what we learn here will not only be applicable in Alton, but in all the communities where we work.
Hello, I'm Erin Newman. I'm with US EPA, and I'll just add to what Marta said. Thank you for having us. It's my pleasure to moderate this panel tonight. Alton came to us and said they were interested in working on this topic. I work on energy efficiency for US EPA, and I said I know absolutely nothing about historic buildings. So I really appreciate that we're able to gather these other experts who can educate you about it. So I'd just like to tell you a little bit about them before they speak. We have Frank Butterfield. He is the Springfield Office Director with Landmarks, Illinois, and a statewide historic preservation, education, and advocacy organizer. Prior to joining Landmarks, Frank was the Director for the National Trust for Historic Preservation in Wisconsin. He has a Bachelor of Science from Boston College and a Master's of Science degree in Historic Preservation from the School of the Art Institute of Chicago. We're also happy to have with us Anna Margaret Barris. She is a project designer at the Illinois Historic Preservation Agency. She has worked extensively with the Illinois Main Street program within IHVA, and she has provided architectural services to over 70 historic Main Street communities throughout the state. And I know today she was working closely with the Alton Main Street program. And finally, we have Richard Riley. He is the Energy Program Manager for the Earthway Center for the Missouri Botanical Gardens. He is a lead AP as well as a certified building analyst at Below Professional and via the Building Performance Institute. He has over 30 years of experience working in this field. So we're happy to have this esteemed panelists tonight, and Frank will let me kick it off. Thank you.
I'm Frank Butterfield, Director of the Springfield Office for Landmarks, Illinois. It's a pleasure to be here. It's always a pleasure to be in Alton. A lot of committed folks here to historic buildings. So thank you for welcoming us. I'm just going to give a brief overview of some kind of thought-provoking things with energy efficiency and preservation. And be fairly quick in order to get into the great nuts and bolts that will be provided by additional speakers and leave enough time for Q&A. But Landmarks, Illinois, just is a statewide historic preservation non-for-profit. So we have a mission to preserve, protect, and and promote historic resources statewide. Basically, we are an organization that helps people save places that matter to them. And it does get confusing. There are organizations at the local, state, national level. So just to be clear, it's a nonprofit versus you'll hear from Anna Margaret with Illinois Historic Preservation Agency, which is a state agency. So whereas Landmarks Illinois will be announcing next Wednesday its most endangered historic places in Illinois, an advocacy campaign. The IHPA would be the one managing tax credits and things like that, the National Register, for example. And just before we talk about preservation and energy efficiency, I wanted to touch on, what is preservation? Here we have a sign, do not cross road, preservation in progress. This sort of velvet rope mentality is still pretty pervasive. I hit up against it quite often. And that restoration is really probably less than 1% of my time. It's really dealing with rehabilitation, conserving what matters, but bringing changes to give a building productive use. And just to that end, we can have a library that's in Wisconsin where they outgrew the space. So when you tear it down, build a new library, they figured out a way to build onto the rear so that when you stand in front of the building, you don't even know that that's there. So finding a way to adapt these buildings to meet your needs. And similarly, there was a campaign for it was a former service station in Harvard, and it was converted to a flower shop. A bank bought it, wanted to put a drive-in generic drive-up windows for ATMs. A local group found a creative solution where they adapted it so the old service bays where you would have your car services, those are actually the drive-up ATMs now, and they have an interpretive museum space in the old bay. So really adapting these historic buildings to both meet our needs and protect what matters to them. And we're here to talk about energy, but just to touch, there are plenty of other reasons to save historic buildings. The mayor spoke quite eloquently about some of them, but the cultural benefits, giving us a sense of place, and the economic benefits, putting people to work. If anyone has a whole building here, the labor that's needed to keep it up. So preservation project creates more jobs than new construction, because that goes more to materials. And when we're talking about energy efficiency, a lot of people are going to be talking about money too. I mean, some of the changes you're making are for, I'm sure, the good of the earth, but some of them are going to be for the good of your pocketbook. If you can keep your energy in your house and not just heat the world, you're going to be doing it often for the sake of saving dollars and cents. And so this question of sustainability is not a new one, energy efficiency. This is the National Trust preservation poster. Back when it was Preservation Week, we are about to enter Preservation Month now, May. And this is their poster showing a building as a gas can, basically saying that a building is the energy that it takes to make it and operate it. And this is their poster from 1980. So not really a new topic there, and it's hitting on what we'll also hear many preservationists talk about, embodied energy. That having a standing building, we've already invested a lot in what we have here. We had to go get the materials, whether it's stone or brick, and make them, ship them to the site, have laborers put it all together, and just to haphazardly tear that down and throw it in a dumpster is a little bit wasteful. We already have that investment built into these walls. It's a pretty good idea to keep using it. And from a larger standpoint, from a community standpoint versus your individual house, preservation has energy and sustainability impacts, and it avoids sprawl. It's using your existing infrastructure, your existing resources, as opposed to just building out and then having to service more roads and more power lines and all that cost that goes along with that. Having a smaller footprint is a better way to be stewards of energy and your resources. And also having that density in walkable communities. I think this little moving image here, this is my block in Springfield where I live. I live in that white building on the second floor, but I can walk to work, to a lot of downtown businesses and things like that, which doesn't. My car, when I'm not on the road, places like here, sits in the garage quite often. And then to look sun is high in the summer, it creates shadows inside and a shade inside, and when it's low in the winter, it actually pours heat into the building. Things like having a nice tree close by. I mean, there's a lot of things that we often don't do anymore, as well as the materials themselves. Historic buildings often are built with they're kind of built like tanks, with thick materials that do have a lot going for them. But I'm not going to get into too many details because they're going to have future people talking about that. And then just to touch on the quality too, the craftsmanship, and I do sway a little bit towards the artistic qualities of these places, but these were built by trained craftsmen, and a lot of time and effort went into their creation. So to throw it all away for a pole barn would not be my recommendation. And then you're going to hear some more about windows, but just I have photos of windows, so I had to throw a couple in. As here is a nice, beautiful arched top window, and then people plugging in, aesthetically at least. You'll hear more about energy, some not terribly sympathetic ones there. And just also be discerning, be suspicious, be skeptical of some of these things. When someone's trying to sell you something like a new window, they might tell you about values right in the center of the pane where it's double line and stuff like that too. But if you have an opening like this where there's basically wide gaps around the whole exterior edge, well, where is the heat going to get in and out? This one, whatever the R value they claim here, is totally false. So just some resources to think about too. If you get online and Google preservation and energy efficiency, you'll get a lot of resources. The National Park Service has a weatherization guide. National Trust as well has a weatherization guide. EPA has energy advice for historic homes, and the Advisory Council on Historic Preservation also has a whole site full of links for energy efficiency and sustainability. And then Landmarks Illinois, where I work, we have a website with a ton of resources, and one of them's Restoration Resources Guide, where if you want someone with the expertise who's worked on historic buildings before, it's a good place to start. Similarly, if you know of people that work on historic buildings, please share your information with me, because I'm always looking to get the right people and build out this guide into a full form for the state. And then, call us too if you have a question. Here's a site visit with me from the state nonprofit, and there's a member of IHBA, the state agency. So we work together, we work closely, and we're happy to answer any questions. I would encourage you, for my organization, you can become a member. That's how we survive. And then to call the staff of IHBA, because that's your tax dollars at work. So use us as a resource. That's why we're here. And then just thank you. When I put this little photo in of a crazy home, the Buckminster Fuller Dome home in Carbondale, just as a little bit of a plug for the statewide historic preservation conference. It's the first year actually. It's going to be joined with the Illinois Main Street program. We're having a conference in Carbondale. You can see this house where Buckminster Fuller lived, and it's June 23rd to 25th. And there's tours. There's going to be great sessions. Awards, all sorts of fun things. So I encourage you to go to, you can find information on our site or Carbondale Main Street, but it will be a great time there, and I hope a lot of you come, and I hope to see a lot of you again in the future. But I'm going to turn it over now to Margaret to talk about windows.
Wood and glass. It takes energy to make and form these materials. And anytime you replace something in your home, you're essentially, not only throwing out the materials, but also throwing out this energy that it took to make these materials. So, replacement windows can seldom be repaired. When they break, they have to be re-replaced. And I've talked to several people today that they're in that situation right now. Actually, some person, someone just after 15 years, their new, brand new double pane windows are breaking and they have to be replaced. And our new windows, they tout energy efficiency. However, the energy savings from new replacement windows, you usually don't see a payback until around 40 years, when their lifespan is often, maybe 30. Today I heard someone 15. So as far as cost-effective, energy improvements, it doesn't make sense. If you have historic windows, they should be repaired. End of story. If you're working with our office or require any type of review or have any type of state or federal funding or permitting, our office would review the projects. That's the State Historic Preservation Office. And we would require the retention of the historic windows on street visible facades. That replacement windows can damage the historic character of your commercial building downtown or your house. I mean, how many buildings around town do you see where there's replacement windows? Something just doesn't look right. Components of historic windows are sash, muntins, meeting rails, sills, glass, of course, and the OG blocks and dog ears. Here's a typical window. I'm not sure if you can actually read some of the images pointing out. So peeling paint, broken muntins, a broken pane of glass. The window is maybe painted shut. So all of these are issues. Of course, the sash cord is broken because that's pretty common. But and maybe there's even some rot. But all of these are issues that can be repaired. And windows were meant to be repaired. They were not meant to be replaced. So having some of these issues, or even all of these issues, is not justification for replacement. So here, a historic sash was taken out of the frame and is being re-glued and being made square. Here, actually, there was an area of rot, so some epoxy has been added to the frame, and the window frame is going to be painted anyway, so you won't notice this. It will be invisible. This is pointing to a window stop. The window stop will have to be removed in order to get the sash out, but it's a fairly, it's not a difficult process. Here you can see where the window stop has been removed. Some of the paint has already been stripped. The sashes have been removed, and the pulleys have also been removed for the new sash cords to go in. The sash pulley cord system is accessed. The weights are accessed through a pocket that lies beneath the window stop, and you can access it after you remove the window stop there. So that's roughly, generally how to repair windows. There are a lot of extensive guides, and there's a lot of information out there. But the reason people always think that you have to replace your windows is because of marketing, basically advertisement. And I see that you have window preservation standards that you're holding right now. So that's great to see that you have that. So windows, to make your historic windows more energy efficient, first, let's make them operable. Second, let's do some things to make them more energy efficient. So adding weather stripping, either surface applied or integral into the jam. And I'll show you a couple different types. Here, a jam liner has actually been installed, and it's just an aluminum jam liner there that is pointing to. It's virtually invisible. whenever you have issues of lead paint and you need to work with work safely. So here's a repaired historic window, and you can notice the kind of the slight cut or groove that was actually made in the window, so it fits and grabs a hold of the weather stripping that's integral. So it really does create a secure fit and a tight fit. Here's another picture of weather stripping. It's actually in the window trough. This is zinc weather stripping. Just a slight, the bottom rail of the sash will have to be cut in order to fit securely over that, but that does prevent a lot of air loss. And secondary glazing. You know, everybody talks about well-insulated glass, double pane windows, double pane windows, double pane windows. Well, secondary glazing, storm windows, are pretty historic. This is actually in Istanbul in 1840. So the idea is not new. Storm windows, you can have exterior. They can be wood or aluminum. And you know, the most common that we see today are the triple track. Well, you know, they're the shiny, bright aluminum. They don't look great, but they actually can be painted. This is the window at my house, and I, you know, painted the storm windows to match my color scheme. I still need to repair my windows, but my storms are doing a good job for me right now. This is also interior storms. Storms can be applied on the interior of your windows as well as another option. So there are people who just absolutely have to have double glazing. They have to have that insulated glass. And there are companies who are manufacturing storm windows with insulated glass now. So Adams Architectural Millwork out of Iowa, and then Phoenix Window Restoration out of Colorado. Secondary glazing storm windows can also be, there is an extremely cost-effective improvement because the cost can be so minimal. Here is actually a type of kit where you put it together and it's a simple frame and film, but it does reduce a lot of airflow because now you have an air pocket where the air acts as an insulator. So storm windows also add a layer of protection to your historic windows. Here, actually the storm window wasn't applied to this window, and there was a lot of condensation during the summer and winter, and so you can see that the paint has worn away on some of the sash, and it has deteriorated and it's kind of starting to rot. Well, that can still be repaired. It's not that large of an issue. So this is on an exterior building. When you do have historic sills that have a lot of deterioration and you are seeing a lot of the grain, aluminum foil stock can be added over the historic sill to protect, to give a little bit more protection for the wood. And again, this sometimes in lead paint issues, this is encapsulating it. We would recommend that, but you can still maintain your historic sash. And historic windows are made with old growth wood. It has a tighter grain, it holds paint better. New windows, they're kind of trees on steroids. The wood that we have today it doesn't have the tight grain that the wood used in these historic windows does. Here's, I mentioned installing the panning over the window trough. Here you can kind of see a diagram. And then this is also something that can be applied to commercial buildings, storefronts. So installing a window film over the storefront display area. And in some storefront windows. Here is actually a new windows in a new wood frame. So when introducing an insulated glass, you really do need to be aware that it does have a lifespan. A lot of what we're seeing for replacements are also because the insulated glass has failed. So just also be aware that when you introduce that to your house, to your home, that it has a lifespan. There are companies who will actually take your historic sash and will put a double pane insulated glass unit within your historic sash. So that's an option also for people who are really dead set on them double glazing. Insulated glass failure is so common that window companies such as Marvin are actually making kits so that you can replace the insulated glass yourself. And wanted to show this picture because a lot of times, yeah, it might sound right to preserve windows. It sounds like a lot of work, and it is labor intensive. This is a window I restored. I was renting a house, didn't have a job, started restoring windows for rent. So this is a window that I restored. I took out the bottom sash, and the top sash literally fell apart. I mean, it came down, but in the end, I took them out, refit the sash, reglazed the sash, installed weather stripping. Now they're weather tight, secure, and continues it retains the historic character of the house. So, in summary, historic windows should be repaired. You can add things to historic windows that do not destroy the historic character and are not throwing your historic materials away. And there's also insulated glass entrance. If you gotta have that double pane thing. So, that's
Hi guys, my name is Richard Riley, and I'll be ready to start in a minute. In the meantime, I'm going to pass out some books. Just pass them around. Take a picture of them if you'd like to look them up someplace and use them as a reference. So, thinking that most people here are in historic structures, thinking about buying historic structures, might want a historic structure, some of these resources might be valuable. The presentation I'm doing tonight is based on something I did for home performance auditors and air sealing contractors at a conference in Chicago. And I'm not going to check my email now. I'm starting my timer so I don't talk too long. Let's see. So, anyway, these are really, really important things that need to happen for homeowners and for people in the contracting industry. I was at an HVAC function in Springfield the other day, and most home builders and contractors are scared to death of historic homes. So one thing you might want to do is hit the lumber yards, hit the HVAC and whatnot to find the contractors who are interested and have the skills to be involved in historic home work. Let's see. All right, so in my history, 35 years in the construction industry, I started as a carpenter who wanted to do the coolest construction around, and that meant carpentry. That got me working in really high-end stuff. So my work as a carpenter has been in Architectural Digest, antiques, traditional home, Better Homes and Gardens magazines, and different things like that. And I did my first historic homes project in the early 80s in the Lafayette Square neighborhood in St. Louis. And this is what kind of let me know that something about the path you guys might be on, the path the homeowners in Lafayette Square were on, and an interesting path for me to take as well. So here's a home as it was in the early 80s with no dormers. So I had to research and produce documentary evidence that there were likely dormers on this house in the historic neighborhood that were destroyed during the Great Cyclone of 1896. So before I would be allowed to build the dormers that the client wanted. I was able to find that in the St. Louis Library, move forward, recreate details to match the beautiful mansard from the late Victorian home from around 1880, and all kinds of great bandsaw and scroll saw work, just the kind of carpentry I wanted to be doing. So, you know, a little bit of sleuthing, a little bit of investigation is an important part of thinking about this work. So there are tools like IllinoisHomePerformance.org, of which I put brochures on the table in back, and I have some more up here if there's not enough to go around, that can provide you information about energy efficiency, comfort and safety, rebates that Paul will talk about later through the utilities, etc., that can put you on a good track to make that marriage of energy efficiency in your historic home make a little sense and work out for everybody. So energy audit basics in existing homes tend to be run under the aegis of the Building Performance Institute, and they include a variety of tests, observations, safety work, diagnostic measurements such as the blower door here, sometimes IR, infrared camera imaging, and like we're talking about with historic windows, like we're talking, energy efficiency and sustainability issues need durability. They need to not be something that's replaced constantly. That would be sort of a negative element to 1, your time, 2, your long-term financial interest, and 3, sort of the overall value and durability of the whole property. So some of the stuff I've done, and we'll talk about here, might be specific to mid-century modern architecture, of which there's a growing enthusiasm in the St. Louis area. But think of the concepts as something that really need to be brought to bear to any historic home project. So a lot of this has to do with how you're talking to contractors, how contractors are talking to you, etc. That's why these books that define a lot of the terms and have a lot of discussion about the interaction of these things can be helpful in the conversations you have when you decide a particular part of your project needs to be handed over to a professional. So you want to find the right professional is first thing, and that might be your most challenging task. So in mid-century modern architecture, vaulted ceilings, open floor plans, a higher percent of glazing is a part of the building envelope. Our pretty typical slab on grade, low pitched roofs, and carports are part of the deal. So in your own homes, think about what is unique about your historic building and how does it differentiate itself from, say, the box with the roof on it that most energy auditors, installation contractors, etc. are trained on. So pointing out these distinctions is pretty important to get the conceptual juices flowing in the partnerships you make with contractors working on your house. So this new tradition was developed in post-war from 1940s on, and included all kinds of things. So this is an example of documents that are available for some mid-century homes in the St. Louis area, including multiple floor plans, this, that, and the other thing. So what I'm asking you guys to think about is what kind of documents are available about your buildings, because those can provide valuable clues about its construction. So if there's a way you can hunt down some blueprints, some remodeling, permit stuff, and different things like that, can provide a host of good information about what might be expected behind those walls you're about to demo. So here you had an early instance of packaged panelized construction. And so just having this information and approaching this house thinking, how am I going to upgrade the insulation without screwing up the house, gives you many, many ways to save money by avoiding missteps as you go. And it's chock full of details. These homes were built with some sort of early prototypical energy efficiency and sort of building efficiency matters with compact plumbing design. But the wall studs are basically horizontal. So if you poke a hole in it and dump in some insulation, you're only going to hit about a third of it because you're in the middle of a horizontal thing. So, right, to do the investigation to find out how do I improve this thing without tearing it down, right? So figure out how that might apply to your particular building as well. So in this case, I worked with an architect and did an energy audit on his house, his mid-century modern house, and we were able to figure out all kinds of things. He has a vaulted ceiling in his living room. This was a hot July day, about 92 degrees out, and the air conditioner is really live and kicking. So we shoot up at his vaulted ceiling. This is the ridge beam going across the top of the ceiling. These are some of those high multi-angle gable end windows above the vaulted ceiling. And the IR image shows surface temperatures. It doesn't look through walls, all right? You can see this ridge beam's nice and cool. It's in the air-conditioned building. Then you look at the drywall on the ceiling, and you can see it's warming up in spots. And all of a sudden, there's a spot there that's red hot on the interior surface. That's telling me there's some insulation missing there, more than likely. If I poke a small hole and look up in there, I'm probably going to see that the insulation has sagged or wasn't put in properly to begin with. And if you're paying our good friends at Ameren serious change to keep your house cool, plugging these little bitty holes here and there adds up to a nice reduction on your HVAC bills. So blower door testing looks to be something that is going to be addressed shortly, so I don't want to get into it too much. But basically it's a way to figure out the size of the hole in your house. See, houses leak, and that's where our heating and cooling goes. And it's a series of tiny little holes. So you fire up a blower door, which sort of approximates a 20-mile-an-hour wind on all sides of your home at the same time. You can walk around and literally find the holes. You can do calculations that can let you add it up and say, well, it's the equivalent of 16 inches square. And certainly if it was wintertime, I'd close a 16-inch window that was open. So these are some of the arguments and important reasons to believe in an energy audit. People say they don't like energy audits, they cost too much money and you don't get anything for them. But if you're spending $400, $500, $600 bucks, probably won't spend any more unless you live in a giant mansion for a good energy audit. You're getting the information to figure out where not to waste thousands, and maybe even more than thousands, on energy efficiency projects that simply aren't needed because those aren't the issues your home has. So don't underestimate the value of an energy efficiency audit. So durability issues, I want to tell everybody that your roof and your basement and source control for water and moisture is pretty much job one for a potato precast. You don't want to tighten up your house. You don't want to put in a bunch of insulation. You don't want to replaster or drywall or anything like that and have rain, moisture, etc. get in the way and destroy that investment. So a good roof inspection, a good roof condition, flashing, gutters, shingles, anything else is real critical. And same thing in the basement. My house was built in 1892. I've got an old stone foundation that made sure the grade slopes away from my house. The gutters are away from my house. To keep my dang basement as dry as possible because you don't want those things interfering with your energy efficient interior environment that you're doing as part of your rehab. So exterior grade's a big deal. I'm working with an architect who's got plants, dirt, etc., 8 inches above the top of his foundation up against his wood siding. You know, the guy's a smart cookie, but he lives in a house and he's walking up every day after work past this thing. It's like one of the first things I saw. I was like, dude, you can't do this. This is going to be a problem, you know, with moisture, rot, termites, and everything else like that. So there's plenty of resources to look at these things and think about them. And so I suggest people sort of make lists of questions, of processes, of products, because a home performance project can be as simple as weatherization and as complex as a gut rehab. And if that gut rehab has a specific sort of concentration on energy efficiency, they tend to be called deep energy retrofits. So it's with those deep energy retrofits that we really want to take advantage and make a good plan. And that plan can be executed in a summer or over a 5 or 10 year period. But, so don't feel as if, well, since I can't do the whole thing, I might as well not do anything. I think that's not a winning strategy in the long run. So there's been a lot of talk about windows. So we're going to go super fast through this. But we found the information on the original windows, and they were single glazed aluminum. It's pretty much about the only window that really is worth replacing because it's so bad. Now, listening to the vinyl window salesman or something like that coming down the street is not the right answer if you love the aesthetics of your home. So whether it was built in 1880 or 1954. So becoming familiar enough with the kind of details that might be issues with energy efficiency and sustainability, to be able to point those out when you're working with a contractor or you're working on the windows yourself can be a big deal. In this house, there was the original windows with triple track storms on it, and frankly, it didn't look very good. So what are some of the solutions, Look at the sight lines on a vinyl window, if that thing's sticking up 3 or 4 inches, and the sight lines on a contemporary aluminum thermally broken replacement window match the existing building. So this is sticking up about 3/4 of an inch, this is sticking up 2 inches. We would not experience the difference of looking at these replacement aluminum windows that are thermally broken with Energy Star Performing Glass the way you would experience the difference of shoving a bunch of vinyl windows into a mid-century modern house. So thinking about, I like low visibility store windows. I don't know if you know Allied Store Window out of Cincinnati. They're in Holland, Boston, and I've used them in Lafayette Square, older homes in the city of Ladue, and different things like that. They can go inside or out, and they're dang near invisible. So what we're talking about is not that details can't be tweaked in order to make things more energy efficient, but we're really talking about maintaining the experience of the historic structure. Because when you walk into a historic building and you start going, my God, that's not historic, that's not this, oh, look at that, they didn't do a good job at that. It can be, it's not as much fun, it's not as interesting. There are, and can be, when restoration is not an option, great ways to get some really good reproductions. If you work with a wood shop and mill for historic doors and things like that, I know it's super high end, like perfect reproductions can be done. They can be made from wood that was reclaimed from a 19th century factory, so it's got that whole old grain, that real tight grain thing going for it with by denailing some fir beams from an old warehouse that's been taken down, for example. So insulation is a super big deal. If you well insulate your historic home, you're not going to need as big a furnace as you had the last time around. And so you can see an investment in the building envelope with air sealing and insulation leads to a smaller investment in your next furnace and air conditioning. And those things in combination, in concert, size property, equal greater comfort and lower utility bills. So HVAC is all about right-size systems. You've got to get your contractors, your insulation contractor, your HVAC contractor talking and trusting each other. Because if the HVAC guy doesn't trust your insulation contractor, he'll oversize your system. It'll short cycle, it won't last as long. It'll be too humid in the summer. Your machine will just go on and off. Much better to have a machine that's a little too small and runs longer, to manage humidity, to last longer, and to keep you more comfortable. So, being able to do manual J&D calculations to right-size your system in ductwork is a really important part of putting your house back together with its new and improved building envelope. Lighting, it's great. This is my only lighting slide. These are all the same color white in all these boxes, and it's all the same color apple and the same color Energy Star bars in all those boxes. The difference is the color temperature. So there's no excuse not to use energy efficient lighting because you can get the color that you want, and it might match the incandescent bulbs you have to use in that antique chandelier. Well, you can use LEDs and some of the sconces or the other lighting and match the color temperature for those incandescents. Very important stuff, leaving us no excuse for not going with the energy efficient way. So, reservation and authenticity, non-false or copy, genuine, real, and authentic. All right, and then entitled to acceptance or belief because of agreement with known facts or experience, reliable and trustworthy. So it's the authenticity of our homes from the 19th century, the mid-20th century, etc., and the authenticity of the best practices of today with energy efficiency that we have to merge together to preserve our heritage and make our homes more comfortable, save money, and do the planet a favor. Some of the books that I passed around are in this pile. I like piles of books. I'm told that I must keep my personal library of 3,000 volumes if I wish to remain married. And I want to say, too, shout out to Russ Smith, who was with the Alton Telegraph back in the day. And 30 years ago in May, he took my wedding photos. He's a good buddy. And so this was a slide addressed to contractors. If you guys buy one book, get the field guide so you can have a clue about the house you're approaching as a contractor. So, what are you looking at? Don't lose business because you have some harebrained scheme about how to make the home more energy efficiency, but you got no clue or respect for the architecture that's in front of you. So with that said, I'll finish up, and this related to contractors too, but I think it'll serve all of us well to expand our continuing education, in this case about our homes, beyond the borders of just the things we're interested in, because it helps us make a real significant contribution to our neighbors and in our buildings. So integrate Illinois home performance into your projects, because it's money and it's smarts on the table and ready for you. And we'll talk to you at the question and answer time. Thank you.
How efficient is the insulation that goes on top of the rafters for a flat roof?
Gotcha. Well, there are numerous strategies you can think about. Certainly you don't want to put any insulation on top of a flat roof that hasn't been added, right? So one of the, because that's like putting your insulation outdoors. And so one of the things you do with that flat roof situation, if you wanted to add insulation to the top of the rafters, which isn't a bad idea because it removes the thermal break that is the rafter itself, right? Because the rafter will not insulate as well as the insulation materials between the rafters. So you want to go in and seal up that whole space between the ceiling and the roof so that there's the thermal and air barrier there. And then depending on the quantity and the R factor, I would higher the R value, the better the insulation you can get in that interstitial area between the ceiling and you can determine the need and the value of adding insulation on top of the roof. So I've used sort of modified structural insulated panels with closed cell foam to go on top of roofs. And one of these guys might know the R value per inch better than me. But it's somewhere around 2.5 R 2.5 per inch of closed cell foam. So it's just doing the math. Around here, you'd be kicking some butt if you got to an R49 in that assembly. So what you'd be doing is, here's my ceiling, here's the insulation I'm putting in, here's my roof and the insulation I'm putting on that. What's that add up to? What's that assembly add up to?
Yes.
I have a question. A while back, I did a little research about re-roof technology, where there's like substrate and plants, something like molded plants. I know that's not always an option for a domestic residence, but do you have any opinion or insight about that for like commercial properties with flat roofs, like what Ben's asking about?
Well, it's a flat roof that's commercial or residential. It can be an interesting thing to do if you've got like personal interest, safe access to the roof, etc. But probably start with the engineering study of the structure and find out what you would need to do to have the roof accommodate the additional weight. There's certainly numerous strategies on how you might layer the materials on top of that roof for a green roof. Some are as simple as like bags of plants in trays that sit on top of an existing roof, and others are a lot more complicated. So all things historic and all things energy efficient need to be like a case-by-case basis in which you examine the details for that particular home. So that'd be everything from plant selection based on which direction you're facing, all kinds of things. But it's all doable and possible. I would say it's probably as much a labor of love as anything else in terms of return on investment.
All right, well, can we thank our panel one more time?
All right, so I'm gonna go a little tech. Can everybody hear me? Okay, do I need to speak up? Okay. I work for Elevate Energy. Elevate Energy is a non-for-profit. Richard was talking a little bit about energy assessments, and I'm going to tell you how to get a free energy assessment. So that's really great news. What we do, we are at Think and Do Take. My parent office is out of Chicago, and basically what we try to do is come up with programs that have people thinking green, yet can actually save them some green. So our motto is smarter energy use for all. So when we say that, we not only want you to save money, but we want to save our carbon footprint on the earth. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. I'm going to talk a little bit just about the Cameron Act Energy Program, which will be followed up, and a little bit about the new smart grid technology, and a little bit about how to get that free energy. So, a lot of times people don't really understand where their homes are losing energy. Usually when I ask this question, the number one answer is windows. We've had a lot of window talk tonight. And that's typically because that's the first thing people want to do to save energy. We only lose 10% of our energy loss through our windows. We actually lose close to 70% of our energy losses going out of our attics and our basements or crawl spaces. That's a big chunk. When you think about your energy bill, you are usually spending over 50% of your cost is to cool and heat your house, if not more. So that's really where you want to look to be saving money. Why is it your attics and your basements that you're losing that? We've all heard that expression that water rises We partner with them, and we will come into your home. How you go about getting a free energy assessment is you invite 5 to 10 people over to your home. And basically what they will hear is exactly what I'm telling you. So you're spreading that information. And as you're spreading that information, you can get your energy audit for free. As Richard was saying, these energy audits can be expensive. They can be anywhere from $200 to $400. So this is a really great way to get one of these assessments for free. How it works is our contractors, once they've been able to do a full energy assessment of your home, it takes about 2 hours for them to do. Then we'll have a little demonstration in your home, and basically it's a really great way to show people where energy loss is happening. We work with the infrared cameras that we were talking about. This is an infrared camera. These are the same things that you see on those ghost hunting shows. So if you see a ghost in your house, that's not my fault. I don't deal with that. You have to call somebody else for that. But what these do, these are, like you said, they're really temperature sensitive. I mean, you can put your hand on the wall, take it away, and you're going to see your hand right on there. What they allow us to do are to see where any hot or cold spots are coming in, and where we might have leaks, where there's loss of insulation. So I'm going to go ahead and pass this around. Feel free to look at the walls. If it's close to white, that means it's hot. If it's close to blue, that's cold. You'll probably notice usually at the tops of the walls they're a little bit colder, or the bottoms of the walls. Any lights and outlets, they will sometimes show up on that too. So what our contractor does is they provide you with an assessment basically of your home. They line out of anything they think is economical. Economical is the key word here. We don't want people doing things that are not going to save them money. So we never recommend replacing the windows because you will never make your money back in doing so. When I say economical, you're going to make your money back on that investment within 2 to 5 years, depending on your home and how efficient it already is. How that works is the contractor on your report, it is going to say you need attic insulation. It will say attic insulation, it will say your rebates, and it will say potential savings of your home. So that's a really big deal. You really want to look at the cost versus what you're potentially going to be saving. We also work with Aaron. There are many financing options for this. There are different programs, and they also offer on-bill financing, which is a really great thing to take advantage of. Now, once you get that report from us, you are under no obligation to do anything, which is great, right? So you just got all this information, and you don't have to do a thing for it. You can choose to do the work. If you do, what I do is I basically work as a watchdog over the contractor. I make sure that they are doing the correct job and that they're doing it right, so that they're not going in your house, leaving a mess, not doing the work correctly. My background is structural engineering. I've practiced structural engineering in California for over 10 years, so I can tell when they know what they're doing or not. So that's kind of part of why we do that. Now, part of why we think that you need to go through with the work is basically it's going to save you money on your energy cost. Whether you are in a historic home or a brand new home, brand new homes are not always energy efficient. They are made by the contractor as fast and as profitable as possible. They are only going to do what they absolutely have to do unless you specifically ask them to make something that's energy efficient for you. The other thing it's going to do is it's going to make your home more comfortable. If you have rooms where one's hot and one's cold, it really reduces that. So you're not only that thermostat war all the time. The other thing it does, and this is another one of the things, so this is great too, is it boosts your home value. He was talking about Illinois home performance. When you can reduce your energy use by 15%, you get this beautiful certificate. I actually think this comes in color. This is black and white one I have, but basically this is an Illinois home performance certificate with the Energy Star. Everybody's heard of Energy Star appliances? This is getting an Energy Star stamp on your home. This is listed on the MLS, and it's also great if you're going to finance your home or sell your home in the future. So those are just some added benefits of having the work done. Now, some next steps to kind of saving money or taking advantages of the new smart grid that's coming online. Right now, basically we're talking about old historic things. That would be our grid. We've got The new system, as soon as the power is cut, it alerts Ameren, or Ameren already knows, they're sending trucks out, they're gonna get that fixed. The other thing it allows them to do is, say something happens to the transformers that are powering your area. It allows them to now reroute power so that you are back up and online a lot quicker. The other thing it allows them to do is reduce waste. So sometimes there are abandoned buildings that are feeding off of our power grid. It allows Ameren to see that this is happening and that nobody's paying for this power and to stop that, to shut that off. So basically that loss isn't being spread out to us as the consumers. Another thing that's coming out, has anybody gotten their advanced meter installed in their homes? Heard of them yet? It's coming. Advanced meters are going to replace the old analog meters, and what these do is we say it's giving you more power for your power. What you'll be able to do is you're going to be able to go online with Ameren, and you're going to see hourly how much power you're using. Why is that important? Why do you care how much power you're using an hour? Well, if you know anything about power, power is a lot like the stock market. It fluctuates. It's based on supply and demand. So during peak time hours, the price is higher than it is normally. Now, most of us are paying one flat fixed rate. You're paying 4 cents a kilowatt hour, and that's what you pay no matter what time of day you use your power. With the new meters, once they're online and once you're being billed by your new meter, there are dynamic pricing programs. So if you're able to switch when you're using your energy, so say you do your dishes at 5 o'clock right now and your laundry you throw loaded as soon as you get home from work. If you can wait till 9 o'clock at night to do that, you're going to save some money. Because let's say the price of power at 5 o'clock is 6 cents a kilowatt hour, it might only be 4 cents a kilowatt hour at 9. So those are things that you're going to be able to take advantage of. Now, Power Smart Pricing is the only dynamic pricing program Ameren offers right now. I do know, I can't really talk about it, but I know there's another program that's going to be released in October. So those are just things that you want to be aware of. These are what I educate people on. If anybody has any questions on any of the flyer stuff that you get in your Ameren stuff, I can answer questions on that. All those energy suppliers that are calling you up trying to get you to switch over, I'm not that person, thank you very much, but I can answer any questions on them. I talk to a lot of different groups. But that's really what I do is I really try to educate people on what's going on. And why do I do this? I want you to take some sort of action, right? Starting with a free home assessment. It's free. It's a really great way to get information on your home and how you could potentially save money. And there really is no catch to this. I know everybody's always looking for the other shoe to drop. Okay, what do I have to do? You don't have to do anything except for invite a few people over to your home. Have a drink of wine, have some beers, and I'll sit and talk to you. The other thing is take advantage of those dynamic pricing options. If you feel like you're going to be a good fit for it, I will talk to you about it. And if you're not, I'm going to tell you, don't do this because you're not going to save money. But if you can, you might as well take advantage of it. And the third thing is to educate others, which is having that energy demonstration in your house or inviting me to one of your local clubs or events, and I will explain this information to them as well. Over on the table when you walk in, if you want any more information on any of this or just are interested in getting a free energy audit, you can sign up. Like I said before, I am not a salesman. I am not going to call you relentlessly. I will call you 2 or 3 times. If you do not get back to me, I will stop hounding you. But if you are interested, these are really great programs that I'd love to help you with. So that's all I have, and I think you're going to explain a little bit more on some things I talked about.
Hi, I'm Brian Campbell, Camco. We do home performance. We're out of Godfrey. This is the forward order. If you call a home performance contractor, this is what they're going to bring to your house. It emulates a 20-mile-an-hour wind on every side of your house instead of having a positive and negative side. We can do the calculations to tell how much your home is leaking. My house was homesteaded in 1826. 2.5 tanks of propane every month. I insulated air sealed bath with my attics. Connected all 3 attics together, did my knee walls.
Didn't even do the rib joints yet. And I went from 2.5 tanks of propane down to 1. Air sealing and insulating does work, but you have to do the insulating and air sealing properly. And you can do it in any house, any home, anywhere. And it does work. Ameren has all kinds of incentives right now. I'm on a program now, like the Ameren Act on Energy program. We have moderate income, and we have programs that for any income. But the moderate income, they have guidelines, and if you have kids that are just getting into homes or something, they replace furnaces, they replace air conditioners almost free if you do your air sealing and insulating. Paul can probably talk a little more about that. But if you want any questions or ask any questions about how we do it or anything, you can ask afterwards. I have some brochures I can hand out on what we do. But we do all the home performance as far as water mitigation, air sealing, insulating, and all that. And if you guys want, we have brochures and flyers we can hand out to you after everything's done. But that's all I had to say. Let Paul do it.
My name is Paul Langler. I work for Conservation Services Group. I'm part of the Act on Energy program for the Amarillo, Illinois. Did everybody hand these on the table in the back? I don't know if everybody grabbed one of these on the way in. If you haven't, then I put some more back there, so please make sure you grab one. This talks about the programs that we have for you with the Act on Energy program. Everybody's qualified, like Brian was saying. The only thing you have to do is have your house heated by hand with either gas or electric. Once you've established that fact, then we have a lot of incentives that you are eligible for. I feel like we're Santa Claus. We have money that we want to help. We want to give you to help offset the costs of the retrofits that Brian's company will do for you. We have incentives for air sealing, which Jamie talked about. And Richard talked about finding all the little holes in your house that are letting the hot air out in the wintertime that you paid for to heat. And you want to keep in. You want to keep the hot air out in the summertime because you paid to keep your air cool on the inside of the house. The more you slow that down, the more efficient your house will become. And the more comfortable it will be, the more durable it will be, the more energy efficient, and the more money you'll have to put in your pocket. So we definitely have incentives for you to improve the efficiency of your home. Attic insulation also, you get people that come in and just want to put attic insulation, just low attic insulation in there. It's going to help a little bit. I'm not going to tell you it's not. However, those holes are still there. So the air is still going to go through that new insulation that you put in. So is it really doing what you want it to? No. You paid the money, it's not going to benefit you in the long run. But the programs that we're doing, health and safety is the #1 issue that we want to take into consideration for your home. We don't want to cause any harm to your home. We don't want to cause any harm to the cabinets. We want to make it comfortable and durable. So that's where GPI certifications come into place that we all have, that all our contractors have. We don't just, like I said, don't just blow insulation and go to the next house. We'll spend a day, we might spend 2 days, as long as it takes. Again, health and safety. We don't want to cause any carbon monoxide issues. There was just recently, I think it was last winter, in this area, in the metro area, there was somebody in a family who died of carbon monoxide poisoning. We test for that. Anytime you have a gas appliance, stove, furnace, hot water heater, they're being tested by our professionals. They know what they're doing. You've hired them to take your best interest in hand. Just to glance at a couple of our programs, we do have energy audits also. They're not free like Jamie's are. Ours are $50 to have our energy advisor come in. They do not use a blower door, but they do use the infrared camera. One of the very similar is floating around the neighborhood. They'll go through your house from top to bottom. You are basically hiring them to speak on your behalf. They're taking your interest at heart. They're not there to sell you anything, just like chains, not there to sell anything. We're there for you. We want to tell you the best things that you can do for your house to make it more efficient. We will definitely generate a report for you, and we prioritize it and list repairs as far as return on investment, what you should do first, where you should concentrate your repairs at first, and then go down the list. While we're there, we're also, if you get your electricity from Ameren, we're going to put the compact fluorescent light bulbs in, the CFL bulbs. We're going to install those in as many places as you like. If you get your water heated by Ameren gas or electric, we are going to put high-efficient shower heads in for you. Now, when everybody thinks of high-efficient shower head, they think of a little drip. These are very nice, high-end Niagara water shower heads. They're 1.75 gallons a minute. Typical one, older one is 2.5. So you're saving 3/4 of a gallon a minute. Not only is that good for water conservation, but you're definitely not heating as much water as you would normally. So it's little things you can do that help your efficiency, help your savings, help your bottom line. We're also putting faucet aerators in for you also. And it doesn't sound like much, but you go from 2 gallons a minute, 2.2 gallons a minute to 1.5 gallons a minute. See, you're adding all these things up. Every little thing adds up to a big thing. The big thing about that with the light bulbs and the shower heads and the aerators, we don't charge for that. That's part of the $50 fee. We also leave a list of our contractors with you, and we encourage you to take the next step and call our contractors to have them come out. Have them put a blower door on your house. Let you know exactly what's going on, and let you know exactly how much it's going to cost to retrofit your house. We don't get into the pricing when our advisors are there. We leave that up to our contractors. They will be able to, we'll give you an idea of what incentives you're going to qualify for as far as attic insulation, as far as rim joists. If your exterior walls are empty, we have incentives for that also. If you were to start totaling all our incentives up, you come up to almost $5,000 worth of incentives. And the way you receive the incentives is you don't have to pay the money up front. Our contractors take them right off of their invoice. And you owe them the difference, and then our contractors submit paperwork to us, and then we reimburse the contractors directly for the incentives. So as far as it goes for the homeowners, it's a fantastic program. You're not waiting to get any money back. It's all on the contract. We have a QA department where if you like, after you have work done, you can call and request our QA advisor to come out and look through the house. We have one here, John Carroll. He works in the southern part of the state. He does all the quality assurance for a lot of different programs in this area. You might see him after you have your work done. But we will just randomly select homes that our contractors have retrofit, and we will come back. We'll contact you and say, hey, do you mind if we show up and verify what was done to the house, make sure it was done properly. We will replicate the blower door test, make sure that they've gotten as much as they can as far as air sealing. We will also go through if we have natural gas appliances, and we will check those out also. We'll make sure that they are indeed operating properly, and that it's not going to cause any harm to the inhabitants of the house. Again, there's no charge for that. We're here working for you, which is what we're doing. We really want you to take advantage of our programs. That's just one of the programs we have for the incentives for the energy efficiency. We also have appliance recycling. If you have a working refrigerator or full-size freezer, you can call, and some very strong gentlemen will come and take the appliance from wherever it is. So if you got that old refrigerator in your freezer in the basement, and you don't want to lug it up the stairs, but you want to get rid of it, give us a call. Not only will we come and haul it away from the basement, we're going to give you $50 also. You can do that twice a year with your appliances. That's not a bad deal. Anybody building a new home? Well, if they do, and if anybody has the idea of building a new home, we have incentives for you to build it properly. We want you to build it to Energy Star standards. The most cost-effective way to do the house right is when it's being built, because everything is exposed that we can get to. We work with HERS raters who will come out and they will model your home in some software. And they will go through it during different stages of construction, and they will verify insulation is being installed properly. All the holes that are normally there caused by electricians and plumbers are being sealed properly. And then they'll verify that. And they'll actually, when the process is done and your house is built, they'll come back, they'll do the blow door test and do all that, and they will provide a HERS index score. Normally, a high test score is good, not in this case. You want one that's close to 0. The lower HERS index score you have, the better, the more efficient your home is. So they will come and provide that. There's energy efficiency mortgages. There's all kinds of stuff. Something new that was just re-announced in the last week or so is on-bill financing. We could do your program, we could basically subsidize your program or your project. What you do is, if you're an Amber customer and you're active on your bill, and current on your bill, and you have to be a certain credit score and all that. I think it's a 640 on the FICO. But you can actually finance the remainder of the retrofit project on your bill. So it's at 5.74%, very low interest rate. And typically what happens with that is the savings you'll see from having a more efficient house will oftentimes offset the payment you're going to have for your energy efficiency upgrades. So really it's cost neutral at that point. So that's a great program. A program in this area is also called the Income Qualified Program. It's for people that are 300% of the poverty line, and it's based on the number of people living in the residence. But we'll come in and we will do a deep energy retrofit to your house, like Richard talked about. Anywhere you can get to insulate the house, basement walls, crawl space walls, rib joists, attic, you name it. We're going to get there, and we have incentives for you to do that. We have incentives in this program and the income program for air conditioners and furnaces, and it's a fantastic program. And once you're qualified for that program, you're automatically qualified for the on-bill financing part of that program also. That interest rate is a little bit lower than the standard program. It's 3.99%, and you just put the remainder of your project on the financing. And again, once you see the cost savings from not having your home energy efficient, it'll offset the cost of that. So it's a fantastic program. I could go on and on about energy efficiency. Jamie did a great job explaining it to you. Everybody, all the speakers and everybody have done a great job here. I would like to thank everybody for showing up on a Thursday evening, even though the Blues game just started. So I'm not rushing anybody, but thank everybody for sitting here and listening to us. And if we have any questions or anything, we'd be happy to open the floor.
Are there any questions for Jamie, Brian, or Paul?
When you're flying off of a lot of attics, they're pretty scary places out there. They might have 3 or 4 different types of material being used to insulate, including vermiculite and things like that. How do you deal with those?
If it's vermiculite, you have to have it remediated.
And does any of your groups help remove that? Or
No,
do
we
you,
don't.
do you keep it in place? Or will you do an energy audit on the house?
You can't do a blower door test when there's vermiculite present, because you will stir up all the fibers and everything.
Vermiculite would likely have asbestos in it somewhere, we don't know. And even if we had it tested, we test such a small percentage of the vermiculite in total square footage of the attic. It could be some other place. So we don't want to take the chance of making the asbestos airborne. So
How many homes may have, do you have a percentage-wise when that would use like 50, 60?
It's low. Yeah, it's a low percentage, but it's amazing where you'll find it. You just never know.
Houses they were built in the 60s.
Yeah, that's why you get up there and look at everything.
Are there any other? Yes, sir.
What about longitude wiring?
No softball. Longitude wiring, again, it could be a fire hazard. If you insulate over down tube wiring, we don't want that. Again, I talked about health and safety. You don't want to cause any harm to the people in the homes. So you can have an electrician come in and verify that there's no tube wiring in the house. If the tube wiring is there, he can verify that it's not active. If it is, then it needs to be replaced with the upgraded Romex wiring. Thank you. What?
A lot of things can be financed, the on-bill financing program. What things cannot be financed?
Vermiculite remediation, tube wire remediation. Those are two things that just come to mind off the top of my head. Windows or anything that we incentivize can be financed through the on-bill financing program. That would include insulation, air sealing, all that stuff. We require certain things to be done to a home. If you have a crawl space, we require that the crawl space be encapsulated. You put a very moisture barrier attached to the walls. Since that's required as part of the scope of work, that can be included in on-bill financing. Right? We require that the bath fans be vented, terminated to the outside of the house. Okay? Again, that is something that we are requiring as part of the EPA standards, and you can run that through the on-bill financing also. Thank you, sir. And what?
Good job.
He mentioned windows, are those?
No. We do not incentivize windows. What we do, again, we talk about the windows. Me and Murray talk about the windows. But like she said at the beginning, and I'm going to kiss her when she said it, windows are a great upgrade, but if you're looking to increase the efficiency of your home, windows aren't the answer. It's a very low payback.
Just to follow up on that, when our contractors go into a home and there is, like in Margaret was talking about, there is something, air is coming in through your windows. There are already airs that you replace them, and repairing them is always going to be cheaper than replacing them. And that's the most economical route. So that's what we're doing.
Weather stripping and cost for a while.
Yes.
And a lot of times it's not. Air is coming through the windows. It's not actually coming through the windows. It's coming around the windows because the original people did not install the windows properly. They didn't fold them in place. They didn't seal them in place. Caulking and the weather stripping and all that. That's important, and that can be done.
Are there any other questions? You require a adequate ventilation control. Is that something necessary, or is it depend on what it tests out to be, or
Mechanical ventilation for the bathrooms or for the whole house? You have to require ventilation for a house if it's too tight.
this is too tight?
So when we go into a home and they run their blower door test, they know roughly about how much air needs to be moving in the home. What we're trying to reduce is that air that's above and beyond that. So there's always a percentage of air that needs to be going through the home to maintain airflow. But once you get above a certain amount, that's when you become inefficient, and that's what we're trying to reduce.
Yeah, all homes in this area probably leak about 5 times on average.
Since this is about historic preservation, what's you guys' opinion on the whole argument about using solar panels on historic areas?
I would use solar panels.
The question was, what's the opinion about installing historic or solar panels on a historic structure? Visibility. We approve solar panels being installed on historic buildings all the time. Our preference is that you just don't see them from the street. And so, if a historic home, it's making sure it's towards the back of the house. Sometimes that does come in conflict with the direction of your house faces. So, you know, there are times where it's appropriate, and, you know, I think we have solar panels on the governor's mansion right now, and that's certainly a historic structure. So there are, you know, a lot of instances where they're fine, they're appropriate, but there's a lot of instances where we're like, yeah, let's look at another option. So.
Are there any other questions for the panel?
There's a sign-in sheet at the back, you can get to sign in. It has a picture, your name, and your email. If you give us our email, we will send you a follow-up in a couple weeks, just giving you a link to the video that was made and maybe some links to some of the programs. We will not repeatedly email you, but if you'd like that information, that's how we have it.
Yes, as she said, we are recording this. We're looking at this up online very soon. And so if you would like to review it again, or you know somebody who couldn't attend or would like to do it, we'll get that out as soon as we can. I would again like to